All right, rock and roll. Welcome one, welcome all to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I am your host, John. If you could kindly hit that like and subscribe button. Feel free to drop something in the comments. I respond to them all, friend and foe. And we have another thing going on here. Here at Scorched Earth, I believe we're one community. I'm not just talking to you, I'm interactive with you. We are one unified force for freedom and democracy. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about, please feel free to drop it in the comments. I've got some really excellent comments this week. And even when they are from the other side, they were very logical, they were very intelligent, and I do appreciate them. Even though they're wrong, I will school you. I will school you. All right, let's get to it. Let's burn it all to the effing ground. And one is a good thing, a bad thing. Let's dive into the illegal, unconstitutional indictments of former FBI Director James Comey. Now, we all know Donald Trump is an incredibly vengeant man. FBI Director Comey oversaw the Russian interference in the 2016 election. Donald Trump has had a beef against him ever since. So in the Trump 2.0, and we saw this because of his incompetence with social media, he directed Pam Bondi in the Southern District in Virginia to indict James Comey, even though there was no evidence. The actual prosecutor who was supposed to take up the case actually resigned. Actually, the 100 other people in the DOJ would not go to court with the charges because there was insufficient evidence to charge him with anything. But that didn't stop Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. They instituted a new U.S. attorney in that district, and her name is Lindsay Halligan. And she is an insurance lawyer, a reality TV star. I believe she was a runner-up in Miss Colorado in 2010. That doesn't diminish what the possibility of her being a lawyer is, but she is a train wreck. She is not cut out for this job. But she soldiered on for her dark master, Donald Trump, and went to court to present an indictment. She went into not actually a court, into a grand jury room where there's 16 people, and they decide if they're going to bring charges that they can later go into court with. Now, I'm not going to bore you because this really has been just, Donald Trump, there's so much toxicity, but I really want to get into this. The charges were dismissed against James Comey and Letitia James, who is the New York Attorney General, not the Manhattan Attorney General, excuse me, who got a successful conviction of Donald Trump last year on financial felonies. And they were all dropped because she was appointed and did not bring the charges within 120 days. When an administration appoints a U.S. attorney, they have 120 days for the Senate to confirm it. After that, any charges if they do not do that, any charges that U.S. attorney brings are not in good standing. They are not considered valid because the statute of limitations for that U.S. attorney's stay, judicial power, her ability to bring it forth for the government has expired. Now, the U.S. Senate, obviously, in one of their more clever moments, did not confirm this incompetent. Okay? Well, part of it was also because the government was shut down because of the Republicans. But she brought 3 indictments. They were all wiped away. The judge dismissed them without prejudice. Now, this is going to be a very important thing, and this is really what makes me sick to my stomach. So let's go back in the time capsule, basically about a week and a half ago. And Lindsay Halligan, because she is part of the Trump administration, decided to do some really diabolical stuff. She brought 3 potential indictments against James Comey. The grand jury looked at the evidence and said one of these is legitimate. The other 2 are not legitimate. So what did Lindsay Halligan do? And literally, my mind wants to explode by how effing stupid she is. So what she did, she has the 1 indictment, and then she has the other 2 that the grand jury did not proceed with, it did not acquiesce to or agree with. She takes the other 2, and in a sidebar, she goes to the jury foreman and says, hey, I need you to sign off on this. The jury foreman believed it was the first indictment that they had agreed upon, signed it off. She said, "Oh, okay, we got it," goes out, files that all three indictments were valid, and like the press is not going to be following this case? Like legal experts up and down the United States are not following this case? Thought she was going to slip it by? Yeah, okay. Like the elephant in the room, it got caught. And now she is looking at potential, and I hope it happens, disbarment for this egregious illegal activity. But now we go back to today. This is Monday of Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. And the judge decided that they were going to dismiss these charges because her term had expired. Now, the problem is he dismissed all the charges without prejudice. The problem with this is the difference between with prejudice and without prejudice is huge. It is like the hole. It is so big. It's like the Grand Canyon, the hole of darkness that is Donald Trump's soul. That's how big this is. Without prejudice means the government can refile it. Yeah. So James Comey and Letitia James were going to beat the charges on their merits. They were going to be done with it. The government has endless resources to drive these people into bankruptcy, into financial ruin, and that is what Donald Trump is trying to do here. Straight up. I wish the judge, and probably, look, I am no legal scholar. I'm just a pretty face. Obviously, the judge probably couldn't dismiss it with prejudice and end this sordid affair. But honestly, Lindsay Halligan and Pam Bondi should be disbarred for what they have done here. That grand jury indictment was about as illegal as something that would go on in a third world banana republic. And I am so ashamed that is part and parcel of the DOJ under this Trump administration. Illegality is their name. Really, how effing stupid are these people to think nobody out there in the media world, in the legal world, in the political world weren't going to check? Oh, they came back with 3 indictments? Oh, wait, I thought the jury said there was only 1. Jesus. When does 1 equal 3? When it's Lindsay Halligan filing the charges. Jeez, man. Really. To think that some college gave her a degree? To think that some law school said, yeah, that she passed some bar exam? Get back to reality TV real quick, because you know what? You're fired. That's all I got to say. All right. Let's talk about the second story here. And let us talk about our little buddies down there in Argentina. They have a president. His name is Milei. And he has absolutely unequivocally wrecked the economy down there. It's funny how all these right-wingers who claim that they're so good with economics destroy our economy. I'm looking at you, George Bush. I'm looking at you, Donald Trump. You know, we have great people like Barack Obama and Joe Biden who literally bring us back from the edge. Thank you for them. Thank you for the Democrats. And I've never understood how the Democrats aren't able to manufacture that mass appeal to the citizens of this United States, but that's another thing for another podcast. So 2 months ago, as they were having upcoming elections, Donald Trump decided that he was going to backstop the Argentinian economy by giving them $20 billion of your and mine hard-earned tax dollars from the United States to prop up their economy. He also got guarantees from 3 of the biggest banks in America to also give $20 billion in loans. They would be JP Morgan, Chase Bank, and Bank of America to also help assist in propping up the economy. Well, what are you going to do if you're an Argentinian? Basically, Donald Trump was holding them hostage. If you don't re-elect Milei, I'm going to pull the money. Well, they go there, you kind of hold your nose on it, and you go into the ballot box and go, okay, I'm going to vote for this guy. Oh, fun little fact, 2024, under Milei, inflation was 218% in Argentina. He's done an amazing job in 2025. He's got it down to a paltry 35.1%. Wow. And we got rid of Joe Biden for 3.5. Okay. You can tell what those poor Argentinians are dealing with. So he gets reelected. And this weekend in the Wall Street Journal, I see that the administration, boy, they did this real slick, is decided that they are not going to actually give the $20 billion and that possibly they're only going to give $4 billion for a payment by Argentina to the World Bank that they owe in the middle of January. Well, when this news leaked out, you can already guess this, spoiler alert, what JP Morgan, Chase Bank, and B of A said, oh, we're out. We're out. We're not putting that 20 billion in. We got to give that for year-end bonuses. Because that's how it works here in America. We're not going to give it to the workers. We're going to make sure the executives get plenty of bonuses. So now, Argentine, in the last 12 years, has defaulted on all their international debt twice, 2014 and 2020. Who was the president of the United States back then? Oh, sorry. Now we're looking at 2026, and there is literally going to be a third. They're not going to make their payments. Milei has bankrupted the economy. Now these poor voters, they voted for the guy, and literally 3 months later, they're on the hook for this guy for another couple years. And this guy is literally driving it into the ground. If you want some analogies, just remember what Donald Trump did to the U.S. economy in 2020 with his expert handling of COVID. 1.5 million dead, economy cratered. If it wasn't for the great Nancy Pelosi pulling that bill out, that $3 trillion assistance, you remember when we all got the COVID checks? We could thank Nancy Pelosi for that, not Donald Trump. He may have put his little auto pen on it at the end, but that lady, that brilliant politician, is the one who saved the United States economy. Thank you, Nancy. We're going to miss you. All right, let's head down the road here. Let's talk about the Ukrainian war deal that's going on. It seems to be shifting by the minute. I don't know what Ukraine does here. My heart goes out to Zelensky. I think he is an amazing world leader. I think he is an amazing political figure who really genuinely cares about his people. There's been scandals. There's been misappropriations of money inside his government. He dismissed 2 of his deputy ministers in the last week because of improper financial dealings. Look, the guy's trying to figure out a way to save his country, okay? And even in that situation, there's people in the Ukrainian government who are trying to profit off it. Must have came straight from the Trump administration, because really, if we were in a war, couldn't you imagine everybody in the cabinet trying just to figure out how they're going to make money off the bullets that we're trying to sell to save our lives? Yeah. So now the more details are coming forward. The 28 point, I thought it was originally 20. If you listen to this podcast yesterday, I erroneously claimed it was 20. It's 28. And, we got a 20-point peace plan in Israel with the Palestinian war, conflict, whatever the F he wants to call it. And now we have a 28 point. I mean, do they think they're going to get bonus points when they're getting nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize for 28 points? Look, I remember when we have negotiated the Marshall Plan, the end of World War II, these were like 7, 8 point situations. Now, they are literally giving them, the problem when you have 28 is there's too many ways that either side can get out of it. And honestly, Ukraine is at a disadvantage. You want to end this war? I've already said this on this. Give them total admission to NATO, give them a $200 billion defense package, and let them have long-range missiles so that they can strike deep inside Russia. Let's go. Let's get to it. Because when Joe Biden was actually giving them money in the first 2 years of this war, they were smoking Russia. And now that the Trump administration has literally turned off the spigot of money and defense arms to them, Ukrainians are under assault. There was massive bombings last night by Russian forces on Kiev and the Ukrainian sovereign land, whatever we're going to call it. The things that are starting to come out is that in the Russian wish list that Donald Trump is portraying as his impartial idea, that Marco Rubio last week basically said, yeah, it's the Russian wish list. He told U.S. senators that. And then he said, oh, yeah, by the way, we're working through it. Yeah, right. I have seen Europe come out against this plan. But I don't know what that means. The only way they can come out against this plan is they've got to funnel money and weapons into Ukraine. And we have seen a lot of situations where, and I love Europe, but they are kind of wussies. They talk a lot, they don't get any action. And I will say one thing about Donald Trump, and boy, you can go ahead and mark this down in the history book, that I think he has done that is very, very good, is he has got Europe to increase their military commitments. You know, they always talked about we're going to be at 2%, we're going to be at 2.5% of GDP, and typically they're around 1 to 1.5%. He has gotten them to increase that. So it does make the continent stronger. Of course, as they do that, Donald Trump pulls back our U.S. commitments. He basically reneges on things that we have set in stone. Like, for instance, when Ukraine decided to get rid of all their nuclear weapons, the United States, in that accord, promised to defend them forever. Well, until Donald Trump came in. And then, of course, we're going to put our commitments on Qatar, you know, the same country that gave him the $400 million jet and facilities on an air base in Idaho. Kudos to you. What does Ukraine do here? They're supposed to, right now, and right now they're in Geneva negotiating it. I feel like this could be the moment where we could really save Ukraine. Unfortunately, I think they're going to have to give up Donbass, which they have a quarter of it, and it would, by most projections, most Ukrainian think tanks, most military observers, take Russia another 3 to 4 years to get that final 0.25%, or 25%, excuse me. It does seem like, and also one of the agreements is they cannot join NATO, that also there can be no peacekeeping forces, either American, European, or a combination of both, on land in Ukraine. And also they have to cut their stockpile of weapons and missiles in half, and also they have to reduce their military from 800,000 to under 600,000. All I can say is Donald Trump has betrayed the democracy of Ukraine, of its people, of its ideals. And what is happening, what is going to happen, and you're too smart to not know what's coming. Russia's going to get this peace deal. They're going to rearm because they are teetering. Right now, fun little fact out of the BBC yesterday is Russia is not paying its soldiers currently. That's how strapped for cash they are. I mean, this is the moment we could push back. Hell, if we pushed, we could get Crimea back. You know, we're all worried about Russia and how big and bad. They are not. I'm telling you right now, you could get the Crips and the Bloods from LA, you give them some arms, they could go right into Moscow. They are feckless and weak. They are a paper tiger, you know, like Donald Trump is. It's pathetic. It's sad. All right, let's get to our final story of the day. And, oh boy. So last week, we had 6 brave Democratic lawmakers, all ex-military, all ex-CIA, who made a video telling government personnel, military and non, to defy illegal orders that came down from above, basically the Trump administration. Well, we know Don didn't dig that. So today, the great senator from the state of Arizona, Mark Kelly, former U.S. Navy captain, served his country amazingly, is now under investigation by the Department of Defense, and I refuse to call it the Department of War, F-U pig, Hexeth, and for serious allegations of misconduct for being part of that video. So here's the fun little thing that they're doing. He is getting a military pension, which he richly deserves. When you are getting a military pension, they can recall you to active duty at any time. Now, when they recall you back to active duty, they can take these charges and take you into a military court and court-martial you. Now, is this what they're going to do? I don't know. But it smells real Trumpian. Now, Mark Kelly basically said, F you, when told about the Defense Department investigation into him. And, you know, I applaud him for standing up for democracy. But I have a, you know, I really would like your comments on this. when we take over, when we finally get the levers of power back as Democrats, do we go down the same road? Because there is a lot of people, ex-military, who are heinous mother effers. I'm going to start with Lieutenant Colonel Michael Flynn, who literally pleaded guilty to basically treason. And then, of course, he pulled it back so Donald Trump could give him a pardon. But that guy literally was an envoy for the Soviet Union. And he was inside the inner circle of the Trump administration. Shocker alert, he wasn't the only guy. You know, I think Lewandowski had a little consultant thing going on with the Russians. What a world it is. The Republicans, the party of anti-communism, now literally have Russian agents inside their upper echelon of government officials. Let's move on. You know, I become president in 3 years. What do I do there? Do I bring Lieutenant Michael Flynn back in and court-martial him? Yeah, I do. Let's go. Because he actually has concrete things. He's just not making a video telling people to defy anti-democratic, anti-liberty, anti-American orders. He literally was subterfuge to the American government and to the American people. Let's also go down the line. Let's go over there to the Department of Defense and the idiot running that, and that would be Pig Hegseth. Former military. Now, John gets in. I need your vote. And I say, you know what? Call him back to active duty and let us talk about the Venezuelan boat strikes that he authorized. Now, of course, these are in international waters. They violate every code of war. Actually, there has been no war declared. These are in international waters, and he is literally bombing boats from another country arbitrarily without evidence. He has still, 2.5 months later, I still haven't seen any evidence that these are drug-carrying boats. And even if they are, you don't know what their destination is. Maybe they're going to Jamaica. Maybe they're going to Cuba. Let's go to Cuba, right? Obviously, there is no evidence because, let's go back in the time capsule, 2 people survived when the sub got smashed. And then they didn't bring them to the United States to try them on drug charges. They released them back to their home country and said, see you later. Yeah. Real drug boat carriers. But Pig Hegseth would immediately say, well, I just followed orders from the president. If they're illegal, it doesn't matter. Now, obviously, the concierge Supreme Court has given Donald Trump total immunity for any illegal, nefarious, unethical, immoral, corrupt acts he does. But that doesn't apply to everybody else. And get this, when the new administration comes in, Donald Trump can't pardon them. I mean, literally, Donald Trump literally pardons everybody. I mean, it is utterly weak and it's utterly pathetic. And, you know, it is, I don't know, it's just disgusting. I saw a pardon he gave the other day to some tool, and I was like, wow. The guy was convicted of just nefarious stuff, and you know, because he had a MAGA hat on, he gets a pass, like they all do. Like the 1600 January 6th criminally convicted rioters, yeah, just give them a pass. All right. That's it today from the Scorched Earth. If you could, please hit that like and subscribe. It means a lot to us. Feel free to drop a comment. I will respond to them. And we'll see you soon on the Scorched Earth Political Podcast.